Hello everyone, I'm up here at MPK 20 Zone 3 and I'm here to talk about Quercus agrifolia, commonly known as the coast live oak. So we have these everywhere around California. They're beautiful trees, and they are the trees that everyone knows if you ever took a class in elementary school in California that produced those acorns that all of the Native Americans used. So Quercus agrifolia are extremely important to all native species here because of a myriad of different reasons. But there's oak woodlands all around California. Now, oak woodland is between a savanna and a forest, so it has to do with how many trees per hectare. So savanna is like a grassland, right? You don't have very many trees, maybe one here, one there. A forest is a lot of trees. You almost have full canopy cover. Oak woodland is going to be like this, right? So you have like trees that are almost touching each other, but not so much touching each other. So here's coast live oaks. See how it creates this canopy, right? So they are as wide as they are tall. It's not like a normal tree where they get very, very, wide or very, very tall. They're just as wide as they are tall. And so here's how you can identify them. Not only the acorns, here's a little fruit that they have. Oh, it just fell. They have these curled leaves, got a waxy finish on them, and they have these spikes at the end, right? So what they do is, it's very hot here in California. There's not much rain, so they have to have these adaptations to deal with the heat. So when you curl your leaf and you have those little fuzzy things, kind of helps it so that you're not taking in the full brunt of the sun. If you have a big leaf that's not curled, you have to transpire, which means you have to sweat. Plants sweat just like humans. They're the exact same thing. When they're in very hot sun, they have to sweat to keep cool. So it's called transpiration. And the smaller your leaf is, the less transpiration you have to do, which means the less water you have to suck out of the soil. And in California, as many of you know, we don't get a lot of rain. So in order to survive here, you have to be very, very good at knowing how to mitigate how much sun you get. Now you want enough so that you can photosynthesize, but not too much. So oaks have a very special adaptation to California. Fire is very important here. So oaks actually get outcompeted, coast live oaks. They get outcompeted by almost all other trees around here. But the one thing that they have on them is that they're good, very, very good at surviving fires. So what will happen is there'll be a little tree, they're getting shaded out. They don't get sun, they don't have resources, they're about to die. Huge fire comes in, kills everything, but the oak survives. And guess what? Even though it grew slower before, now it's alive and the other tree isn't. And it's winning, okay? So that's how it does it. It survives the fire. Fire is actually very important in California. A lot of plants depend on it and need it to even reproduce. I know it has kind of a stigma that fires are bad, and they are to a certain extent, but a lot of species do need them. Here's an example of a very healthy oak. You see this crack right here? That's indicative that the oak is growing. So its girth is growing, so it needs to split itself open in order to grow bigger, right? Bigger, bigger, bigger. So you see the difference. We have branches growing out here. We have branches going out here. Here, over here, we have the same exact tree, but it only has one central leader like this, and then it starts growing out. So trees and plants, just like humans, they have hormones, right? So those trees right here, this is still a younger tree. That tree is older. Okay, it has hormones more like an adult, right? So it's going to start growing outwards that way, outwards that way. It's going to start going wider and not as tall. This one is still trying to grow tall. It's still not growing wide. See, it doesn't have acorns. It's a younger tree. This one's older, has like the adult hormones. Plants are a lot like humans and animals, more so than most people think. So those hormones, once they get a certain age, they raise them out, and it actually changes how they grow. Now, oaks, coast live oaks, Quercus agrifolia, are allelopathic. Tongue twister. But what that means is that they passively, means they're not trying to do it, they just do it just because they kill things that are below them. They make it hard for other things to live below them. So basically, inside of their acorns, they have something called tannin. If you ever were in a classroom and made acorn bread with the Native Americans, you had to try and take out the tannin. You have to leach it out because it's kind of poisonous. It's not going to kill you, but it's not good for you either. Same thing for plants, right? They don't like to eat tannin in the soil. It's gonna, change the pH. It's gonna ruin the nutrient uptake for the other plants in the area. So that's another way that these oaks can compete with things. Once they get big, they create that large canopy, right? Nice and wide. They create this right here. See all these acorns, the old leaves, this is really thick. Nothing can live here. And I dig down, look how much stuff is here. Now this is really important, right? Because you have a lot of bugs and all the invertebrates that are at the bottom of the food chain that support all the bigger invertebrates, the bigger bugs and insects that then the birds eat and the small little mammals eat, and then the bigger animals eat those. Can sustain this massive food chain of hundreds of different animals. And back in the day, oak woodlands used to be a very, very great place to live because you have these beautiful trees with so many animals that can live on them. You have apex predators like pumas, or most people know them as mountain lions, that can live here with all sorts of things to eat over there. And the Native Americans thrived. Not only did they have that, but they had the acorns. They had a lot of other things. They didn't really even need to use acorns. There was so much food, but it's a great place to live. And we are doing our best here at Facebook to create an ecological paradise for the birds and the mammals. We do have foxes here around the area. So that is my session about Quercus agrifolia, or coast live oaks. You'll see them all over the Bay Area if you go hiking. Keep an eye out.